Hi.
It's a pleasure to be here today to dedicate the Protection Island Aquatic Reserve. Appreciate all of you being here to join us in the celebration.
Thank you, Bridget. And again, welcome everyone to this wonderful event. And just to be clear here, this is both a celebration and an actual formation of the Aquatic Reserve for Protection Island. But I think it's also important to recognize that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to really achieve this lofty goal of the cleanup and recovery of the Sound. And the little step that we are about to take today is just one of many steps that we at DNR, working with our terrific partners across the Sound, are taking to accomplish our part of the job of the cleanup and recovery. So I want to be first to acknowledge the tremendous role of the people for Puget Sound in proposing this aquatic reserve and helping through the whole process to make sure that we've come to this point. Thank you very much for your help. Also, the county, I know, has been very supportive of this effort. Now, the reserve is about 20,000 acres. So it's a large component of marine waters and bedlands. It is home and important breeding and roosting ground for about 75% of the avian population that lives here in the Puget Sound. So it's a very important component of the habitat for many species. It's also, in terms of the marine species under the water, it's a very important habitat for eelgrass and for other forms, including kelp, that provide, of course, a lot of habitat for the aquatic species that live in those areas.
I want to introduce Dave Peeler with People for Puget Sound, the entity that actually recommended this site be designated as an aquatic reserve, and give Dave an opportunity to say a few words.
Thank you. And as Commissioner Goldmark said, about 4 years ago, I think we began the effort to nominate this particular area as well as others. And one of the interesting things I think about here is when you look at these posters that the staff have put out, you see a list here of about 60 fish species. They're not all listed here, but there's, as the Commissioner said, I think there's 75 to 100 bird species that use this area, about a dozen marine mammals. I mean, it's just an incredible wealth of fish and wildlife population that call this home here. And one of the incredible pieces of knowledge that goes with that is this whole area that's shown on this poster here is really where the seagrasses are. And they really are the feeding grounds for all those species. And so when people think about the birds using the island itself as a nesting and breeding ground, well, they have to have more than that. They have to have a place to actually feed and to rear and do those other things necessary to have a successful life, essentially. When you look out on the bay here today and across the straits, you see the top of the water surface, and it looks sort of flat, and it looks nice, but what you don't see is that tremendous variety of seagrass growth that's underneath the water on the bed. And when you look up in the hills, you see these forests. If you could look under the water in this area, you would see something that looks really like a small forest on the bottom down there. Today, that's what you would see down there, is that particular area. So for the Department of Natural Resources and the Commissioner to set aside this area as a reserve for the 90 years that he mentioned is really a wonderful, wonderful move, because that will help to protect this area for the future generations and make sure that that fish and wildlife has a home, has a place that they can rear and survive, and hopefully help restore population throughout Puget Sound. So People for Puget Sound, our board, on behalf of Kathy Fletcher, our Executive Director, I would really like to thank the Commissioner and the DNR staff for going ahead with this proposal. I know it's not easy to make these kinds of decisions in this day and age, and yet it's what's necessary, as the Commissioner said, in order to ensure that we will protect and restore Puget Sound for today and for our future generations. So, Commissioner, thank you so much. We all feel just really great about this decision that you're making today, and we hopefully will be able to work with you and the staff at DNR in the future, to implement the management plans that will be adopted today. Thank you.
So I'd like to have you sign that.
It's done.